and Love and Wellness. Welcome to Heart Happy Hour. Land of Love. This is the next episode of the Heart Happy Hour. I'm Precious Mother Love, brought to you by Love+Art equals Wellness. I have so many topics I want to talk about since the last time that we talked. It's amazing. Whew. I've been through a lot. A lot of healing, some things that snuck attacked me and that I had to retaliate and send my troops to trample upon. And, let them know, tread lightly on this vessel, because this vessel is bonded, and held in the light. The light comes through the cracks. It's going to get in whichever way it can. And I expose the light. That kind of reminds me of a story. I guess I'll tell you about that story later, about a light being that I met. Today, I will speak with you briefly because the things have been really adding up on me, and I know I need to get some of it out of my system. And the purpose of Heart Happy Hour is to help you to learn some of the healing tips and hints that I have learned in life and to try to share them with you so that you can apply them to your life and have success in the same ways that I have. Whatever way it works for you, but applying it to you. For instance, there are a lot of things that are in books. And a lot of times, if you don't have any experience or practical application, you really don't get, the reality of it. Oh, that's right. I do have some new rings on it. I think that's these rings will be a part of my healing regimen. But what has happened is I made some new, art is therapeutic for me. And I started getting a bout of vertigo. And it was slowly creeping in on me. And, vertigo usually means there's something going on with your ears, eyes, nose, throat canal, somewhere in that area. If there's some swelling or if there's some infection, whatever causes it to swell, if you can reverse it, then your equilibrium and your vertical hold can continue. What I did was, as I said, my art is therapeutic. So I found that I made two rings that were, and it looks like I'm missing a red one. Yeah, well, anyway, I made two that were red. And this is a red coral. I'm not going to get into the specifics. This is hematite. This is a African bone bead. And then this is rose quartz. So and there's two others that I made, one that's green and one that's red. So what I gathered from my therapy was that, my root chakra needed some work, some extra work. And so the red stone, I'm wearing now one on each hand. The rose quartz is to help me with softening the blow of continuing to love upon myself and continuing to radiate that love. The ancient or the the ancestral or African bone bead is my link to my heritage, my past, my connection. And I also, the green was for my heart, and there's another one. Oh, here is the other red one on my other hand. Here we go. So it's a red one here and a red one here. And then there's blue sapphire, which this is a blue druzy sapphire. And then also a green one, which again, I felt that was helping to heal my heart as I was creating it, creating these primordial swirls. And as I move, I still feel a smidgen left of the vertical hold that needs to be tightened or touched up. But I am healing intensely, tremendously well. once I got to what the heart of the matter was, and again, the heart is a electronic device. We are electronic beings. The heart is, uh, this whole vessel is a magnificent creation. So the heart is absorbing the energy that's coming in through the breath or the chi. So the chi energy is energizing the rest of our body, which goes through our organs, our mind, our limbs, all our veins, all of our electronic highways and byways within this vessel. And so, if our breathing is not proper, if our sleeping is not proper, meaning the rest or the time when you would actually recuperate, rejuvenate, re energize, recharge during that time, that is when your heart has, and when your hair grows, your nails grow, your body heals during sleep. When a child is young, the child grows during their sleep. Most times in the summer, you see those growth spurts because they've spent more time resting. More than likely, they've gotten better time to sleep, and this don't have the same parameters of having to go to bed before they've exhausted the energies that they've absorbed from playing out in the sun all day. And that's another way that we gather energy as well, is through the rays of the sun, also called a sun god, Ra, or, yeah, sun god Ra, Amun Ra, is one of the names that has been given to the sun. And I wanted to talk about, I have a list of things to talk about. I'm just going to randomly go through them, and how I connect them is how they end up being presented. But, speaking of planets, I wanted to speak on our connection to these other planets, but that also we have visitors here from other planets. And how I feel about that is, I'm starting to hear and connect some dots, and some things are resonating with me that are being revealed from the Bible, in reference to him saying he's not from here, or it being said he's not from here. In that there was this discovery that, or at least just the passage, in our likeness, not, and it's not as though, I could be a we, I could be the etheric body, the physical body, the emotional body, and the whole, those could be my I'm a we at that point. Bodies, I have bodies of energy, bodies of various densities and dimensions. But I do have the notion that, we would be extremely selfish and ignorant if we were to think that there aren't other beings that are around, even on this planet. I mean, on their own planets, or what other planets that there are to be able to visit. I mean, we're talking about. As an Uber or Lyft driver, I had someone to come in my vehicle that was participating in a science conference, and that conference was in reference to space. And one of the people that had come across my path indicated that they were a part of a team of people who were manning one of the rovers, one of the mobile vehicles that were sent there. So I guess it's just as we can remotely control the drones to a certain distance, as opposed now if we, I used to make calls from ship to shore, and I'd have to go from one operator to another operator to get to the ship, or something similar to that, meaning that the operator that I would reach would be the one that was in reach of the ship that I was trying to reach. So we would say that the satellite, here we might communicate with the satellite, and then that satellite sends the signal for the control of whatever those vehicles are. And I don't know why I got into the science of that. That's neither here nor there. That's just something that I connected the dots with, I guess. But I did want to mentioned in reference to religion and UFOs and aliens and beings of other kinds. It's hard to say certain words in a language that is clear, because we use so many terms for multiple. Like, there are some words that are in our dictionary that have 25, you know, or 10 different. It doesn't matter. If it's more than one, then there's room for confusion, definitions. So my thought is that some of that, the verbiage in the Bible, even though it's been through interpretation after interpretation, various languages, in some languages, certain words don't exist. And in certain languages, converting from one to the other, there's no correlation. There's nothing there that has been created to exist to express what that is. So I want to get into what I had thought about earlier as far as when I said I met a light being. So I met this light being, and I'm going to put these rings away. That's what I keep, fumbling around in my hand, and has given me some security in holding it. So I'm going to put my little security blanket stones to the side, and I'm going to get into this light being that I met. Now, I met several light beings over time. Never had considered that they were from another planet. I feel dumb. I feel dipwittish. But I do feel that I've had true experiences. And so now that I look back at it, there's a chance that these beings were from another world. And that wasn't that the name of a story, one of those daytime soap operas, Another World. I remember during the time when the first space shuttle went up for the moon. I remember that was an interruption of, I believe, the show called The Edge of Night. And yes, we were voyaging into space, and now we're going back in March. There is another space shuttle that's going up. And now that we're openly talking about that, there are some discoveries of these beings being here. I don't feel as frightened to speak about what I have come across. And because folks were thrown into the cuckoo, factory for talking about, they were considered heretics, if and even so back so far as into the 1700s, when people were I think there was some sort of comparison that, if you were studying Hermetics or the Kabbalah or anything related to the nature of those things, you were considered a heretic. You were considered cuckoo. And sometimes I am considered that. I consider myself, somewhat of a free spirit, someone who does have the ability to let go. But then I also have realized most recently that I have kind of painted myself into a box. But I've also since discovered that that box can also be either my cage or my sanctuary. Because if in my mind I am free, then those things won't matter. I have very much enjoyed my time of, I'm not in quarantine, but I'm living a pretty secluded life. And I wondered if I went on the road, if I could live that life. And so now I've exposed myself to conditions that have allowed me to realize, I think I could do that. Um, because I meet new people, and I'm always connected through this web. Today I was studying some things about the ley lines. No, 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 no. Reverse. Let's go back to this light being. Let's go back to that. Okay, so this was when I was living in Baltimore, and I had I'd gotten out of the church. I was an avid churchgoer. I was morning, noon, and night. I was there for noon prayer every day. But that was after I met somebody who I had seen their glow, and I wanted that glow. But so I went to noon mass every day. This was for a couple years. But then I also went to Wednesday night Bible study, also went to Saturday morning meetings for Temple Life and for New Life. And then I take my daughter to Saturday school for the girls' clubs or whatever other things that they had going on for the youth. They may have a singles event that evening or that afternoon. Then you have Sunday morning services. And then I was on the media ministry. I was also in the choir. So I was always in service for every service that we had. Every time we had somebody in the house of as a visitor or whatever. I also drove the bus. So man, I was sewed up in there. And when I left that church, I felt like it was a divorce. I felt like, if I visited any other church, that I was cheating. That's how committed and dedicated I was to what I felt was my relationship with the body of Christ, which I had to eventually, everything on the external, I had to internalize that sort of sensitivity, that feeling, and not feel that it was outside me, but that it is within me, my temple, my vessel, this body of Christ. So anyway, so it was really, really, really in deep, but I had started crossing the line into metaphysical and into esoteric and into the quantum sciences. I did a lot of reading, I did a lot of studying, and again, it's like I was told as a child, and some things that I believed then, I grew up believing, and it took some time for me to unlearn those things. Like one of the things that I was told was, it's going to hurt, it's always going to hurt, you're never going to get used to it. That was a stumbling block that I had, that it was hard to get over. Because let me tell you how I got over it, and then I'll get back to the light person. But I felt like I'm reading all this stuff, and all this stuff says something that really is the opposite of what I'm being taught. How do I handle that? So I'm like, somebody's lying. Somebody's not telling the truth. How do I decipher the truth? If I'm reading what's real, or if these trusted people that are telling me this information, if I should continue to trust the validity of the resource. So, hey, I realized that the books were right, and that I had been taught some fallible information. And it could have been for very good reasons, but eventually, if you teach your child some of those kinds of things, go back and undo it so that they can, not be uh, affected in a negative or adverse way for their maturity. And so, in any case, so this light being, I was really tuned. I was meditating, and so one morning I was meditating. This was just after dawn. I did a lot of I still do sunrise meditations, and so and through this pandemic, they've been playing with the sun. The sun's been a resource that has been limited, and I'm not going to be as forthright as I thought I was going to be, but I'm going to do the best I can to just be blatant about my truth. So I'm in my meditation, and in my meditation, I'm seeing a bright light stand, and I say standing, but there's a bridge, there's an arc bridge, and on the bridge is a bright light, and it's a person there, but they're glowing so bright you can't see the person. All you see is the light. And so the light being said, do not look upon me. Okay, well, I just described to you how the person looks, so you can tell I looked upon him. But what you couldn't tell was that when I looked upon him, the light was so bright. When you say mind-blowing experience, it blew my mind in a literal sense. It took me 3 days to get myself back together. And I felt like I was pulling pieces of myself back from the ethers and reforming myself. And I may not be the same since that day. I believe that I changed because I may not have added, or I may have left some things out, or something that wasn't necessarily as much mine, but was the likeness of mine, was reunited into the energy of this vessel. So, at that point, I do feel that there were some changes in my life, that I no longer am the person that I was prior to that, or exactly the same. So I do say that the experience of that was a true and factual event, because, after the fact, I was very discombobulated. It's as though I had a severe case of vertigo as well. And I'm just getting over some of the worst part of it, of a recent bout with vertigo. But I am learning now more and more how to pull myself back from it. I'm learning the signs and symptoms of when I might be detaching from the vertical hold, or when some of the signs and symptoms appear to me of my vessel not being properly energized. And as I mentioned earlier, through the breath is the way that you take in the chi. The chi is the way that you energize the body. The heart is the battery for the body that disperses all the energy. I think his name is Greg Braden. I just read something by him that spoke to, I was looking up some ley lines and the matrix, because I live in the District of Columbia, in the nation's capital. And there's a monument here. And I wanted to relate, over the years, I've noticed many of my, I guess you could say, paramours, the folks that I've been engaged to over the years, the umpteen, would wake up with, you know, um, you know, reaching for the sun. And so I wanted to research, well, what is that? What is the meaning of that? And of course, if you say thallus, then that's a part of a plant, an unvaried or unspecified part of the plant that protrudes, and they call that a thallus. But then you also, if you name it an obelisk, the obelisk is something that was utilized in Egyptian times, used, at the entryways, there'd be one on each side. But, like Cleopatra's Needle, at the Vatican, all these different places where these obelisks are, there apparently are two or more ley lines that intersect at those points, those being energy grids, those being, you might could call them acupressure points, or because the earth has a particular resonance. These are like its veins or its vessels, not blood vessels, but blood energy nerves. How about that? The energy lines are wrapped around this planet, and they are energetically interacting with each other, and adjust according to the what is being done. Now I'm also hearing, and I say what is being done, it could be the angle close to particular planets, certain things that we're doing on this planet that's affecting it. I mean, there are things that are being done by scientists to cause adjustments to occur to that resonance, and it then affects us in the same way as when. And then, I'm watching these shows like Roswell, okay? And so there was something that happened on there. There's a lot of things that have resonated with me on that show. But in particular, in reference to, there were some bats that were affected by some of the frequencies, and I believe it was an infrared energy that was released that was affecting them, and it attracts them. And so it related me back to when I was going to say epidemic, when the pandemic first started. There was tell that there were some connections to, I don't want to say bat flu, but a bat virus, or a virus related to the bats. But see, the bats are sickened by this false signal, or this is a signal that they're tuned into. Their sonar directs them towards certain energies for certain purposes, and so this is like a false reading, um, maybe like a false positive. For instance, when we have these rapid tests and so on, these unreliable resources that sometimes can give you fallible information because of whatever period of testing, being condensed to a place where it's having to be utilized before the full course has been run. But I wanted to speak on these towers that were very, very instrumental in my mind, because I had associated the 5G, the 10G, the 15G with illness, and one of my, I want to say professor, his name is Polite. He has had some marring of his record. I cannot say true or not true. It could be just like a Marion Barry situation, where they say the chick set me up. I don't know. He was getting to a place of spewing such information that was difficult for folks to actually. It discombobulates people when their core is rocked with this kind of earth-shattering information. I mean, one of my other mentors, and I did actually get to meet him, was Dr. Africa. Very similar to Dr. Sadie. Dr. Africa said that, and I'll read this from the sign that's on my wall. It says, "All diseases can be cured." This is a photo. There's a photo of him on my wall and a poster from when I attended the course. But it says, "Arthritis, cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, prostate, hyperactivity, overweight, stress, etc. All diseases can be cured." And so he had a course that was being conducted. It was about $1,000 for the course, but a great information. I've been exposed to some wonderful teachers in my time. Billy Carson's another one that I met, one of my mentors. He has some Egyptian, I want to say divinity, mystery school kinds of things that he's been doing, sharing some of the information that he studied, and a lot of that resonates with me as well. I'm not sure what part of it that I'm supposed to be able to share, but I'm trying to share as much as I can with you to let you know that I am comrades, or rubbing elbows, or coming with information that is from firsthand experience, from firsthand exposures to learning. The library was my favorite place as a child, and now I'm getting back into some of the modes of what I used to do as far as research, being up all night and searching and searching. And I mean, I love the internet as far as it'll let me go. I have had opportunity to have some books firsthand, but I've also lost a lot of those investments, and that's what they were for me. Books of increased knowledge. They were investments because they were very, in some cases, very old. One book that I picked up, it was from the 1700s, and this is a book that as I was walking past a trash can. I told this story in one of Billy Carson's sessions, but that, in my mind, I needed some information. I was doing some further research, and I couldn't find anything in the library that was that I felt was a credible source, that was of the angle that I wanted to go, because I wanted to go from a truly, purely natural Mother Earth, you know, holistic view. I didn't want anything that was going to be prescribed unless it was a natural diet of a natural resource, of organic resources. So, but in any case, I'm saying this was instant. This was me thinking it. This is what I want. This is what I need. This is what I'd like to see happen. Bam! The book. I'm walking past the trash can, and just as I get to the trash can, something go bam right on the top of the trash can, and there's this book with all the information that I needed. Every bit of it was miraculous, or somewhat startling, and it was a very truly valuable resource. But I lost that book as well. I've done some research that has taken me back through some various resources that I can't get to any longer, but hey, mind is all is mind. It's in my mind. And that's why I feel like I don't necessarily need the books all the time, because, or most of the time, or the majority of the time, because I am the book. I resonate with certain information, and that information, as I'm discovering, like this morning in my meditation, and I finally decided to take some, what are these called? Some of these index cards to my meditation spot, and when I meditate, to take these cards so that I could have something big to write on, and I could try to complete the thought, and then don't have to worry about where else do I write. The next one is where I next write. The next one after that is where I next write. So some of the thoughts that came to me, and one was, and I'm going to continue digging into this, but it said, move the hand on the dial. I'm still working on that, but where it took me was the phallus, and where it also took me to was the obelisk, and because that is part of a sundial, and so that's the sun is the thing that moves, that makes the sundial move as the shadow changes. So if you're talking about moving the hand on the dial, that means I'm moving the source of the light, or I am actually physically causing something of, to make the energy move the hand of time. So I'll continue to work on that. But anyway, so I have attended mystery schools. I have had some very astute persons that were in my presence teaching me, as well as those whom I have followed on YouTube. And for years I followed certain preachers, and I considered them pretty good resources of what they knew, of what they would say. I didn't ever feel like, hey, I'm going to follow this person to the ends of the earth because the information they have is so, well thought out, research, and so on. No, I felt like for the time, those were good resources. Those were me preparing myself for the conversion that came later in, internalizing the energy and not necessarily looking at external resources for guidance to what to do with my energy. But anyway, some of the mystery teachers that I've had, I followed Santos for many years. I followed Billy Carson for many years. I want to say about 4 or 5 years for Billy Carson. I attended a school here in DC, ISE. Professor Dixon was my teacher there. I also had a period of time that I studied with someone who is now more renowned than they were at that time. They've gotten some recognition, and that's Dr. Anu at the Anu Institute. And then, it's the kind of information that someone like Taj Tariq Bey extends, and that whole group of people that are seeking for more self-identity, the science of self, So over the years of my absorbing these things, in addition to what I learned as a child, which my parents were into the metaphysical, the esoteric, I read their books. I then went on to, actually, there's a fifth school that I went to, a brother named Bobby, when I worked at Xerox Corporation. I mean, like, I was tapping into some serious information when I worked with these employers that I worked with. At the time, Xerox was one of the largest organizations in the world. And I went from them to, I made my way to Manpower, which at that point was one of the largest employers in the world. I mean, and I was winning contests, national contests that were rewarding me for being able to manifest what they requested from us, and to do it in a way that it had become an easy task, not something that I was losing sleep over or that I was having a difficulty attaining. But that's, let's put that to the side, because I am now utilizing my intellectual energy. My spiritual efforts and lessons are toward ascension, ascending myself into a light being. And let's just say, I have observed myself in the dark, when I look into a mirror, that I was actually glowing. So somewhere along the line, I think I'm making some efforts. So I would like to just say, my 5 words of wellness are something that I continue to want to share with you guys. I don't think I did read my poem, so we're going to do a real quick piece of a poem, something that I actually wrote today, and then we're going to briefly go into my words of wellness. And as I mentioned, I will be doing a show on nothing but the words of wellness. Every time I keep saying that, what happens is I keep finding all this information that I want to share, and by them springing that UFO and the alien thing, and I don't think they call it UFO anymore. I'm going to find that AU something, aeronautical, unidentified aeronautical phenomenon. I don't know, something like that. So, I wrote a poem. Now I started this poem a couple of years ago, and so I started it in August of 2019. So I'm going to read it and then finish it. So, and this is called Deal, Feel, Kneel, and Squeal. So, I was a woman who needed a man, but then I changed my mind because of my dad. He wasn't there, and I needed that to heal, so I could be the woman I felt was real. I nursed him till his departure. That last year was a revelation and awesome. I healed the binding ties that were disguising our truth, that was deeper than our DNA. My brother lost his past and continues to retestify his proof, to relive his truth in reply to a doctor's directive, taking his desire to reach higher, to fit into the soapbox, locking away his true roots. Healing is only limited by sticking to the rules. Ruthless outlaws and guerrilla marketing tactics are taking over like a coup. Self-governed, sovereign, primal, natural tools, inalienable rights seem like they can't be fooled, and arbitrated to be less, naturally to be, and naturally free. Think connectivity. Think of me. It's an acceptance of rejection, or, and I did not write that last word, and I kept saying that I was going to write it down. It is the acceptance of rejection or connection. There it is. One level wellness. Love plus art equals wellness. That's my poem for today, and that's called Deal, Feel, Kneel, and Squeal. And squeal at the end is just me giving the truth, just to say that it's like a coup, like they're taking over our bodies, the energies the earth is giving off that feeds us. You know, we actually get fed from the resonance of the earth as well as the resonance of the sun. You know, we pick up from the vibration, the energies that it emits, that they emit to us. And as they say, you know, the eyes are the windows to the soul. So when you sun gaze, that is also another way of recharging your batteries. And just like the UV, and I did like this because U and V in sign language, but UV rays are sanitizing. You know, so some of those devices that we use to sanitize the air or to sanitize surfaces, or you know, sun bleached. You know, like in the summertime, my hair gets to be a more bleachy color from the brown that I normally have. The hair on my arms gets to be golden, and you know, on my face gets more golden. Anyway, one loving and well, one love and wellness. Last thing on our way out, I am determined to cover my material. I have a whole stack of other stuff that did not get talked about. I wanted to be able to make this under 45 minutes, so we are working very close to it. Words of wellness: hydrate, cleanse, tune in, attitude, and flow. Hydrate, drink your water, bathe, make sure you get your proper, when you're eating fruits, you know, that you're getting good sources of hydration, steam, and so on. Cleanse allows you to detox your body and to make the pathways clear so that you can present the information in a more clear, direct route versus having to go through stagnations or blocks or walls that you have built for yourself or that have accumulated because of toxins in your body or things being accumulated around you that are blocking your way. Tune in, which is an awareness, making yourself more aware of what is going in and what is being put out. And that means also, you know, like observing what comes to what is in the commode when you get up, you know, observing the color, observing the texture, you know, so that's what's coming out. And then what's coming in, making sure that you are doing, that you're feeding yourself the proper words, the proper energy, the proper signs, symptoms, signals, and so on. And that's as above, so below. So you're on the micro and the macro. You're definitely having to be observant of all of the information as it is being, as the data is being processed within your vessel. Attitude. And really, I say attitude affects your altitude because at that point, I'm saying that you should put whatever the interpretation is of what has come in and what is being put out. That data is now being matriculated into charting your course. So you now set the dial to where you want to go. If you're not as healthy, you want to be healthy. If you're not in the place that you want to be physically, how do you get there? Plan your route, put your map together. How do you put yourself in the position of losing weight? How do you put yourself in a position of, I don't know, having more children, getting a husband, having a baby? You know, all these things require you to have some forethought. And if you don't think about it and it just happens and it per se happens to you, you actually did it by not paying the attention that could have allowed you to chart the course and make your passages more of a pleasant process. But the last one is flow. So hydrate, cleanse, tune in. Your altitude is your attitude, and which also is minding your matters because you set it and you forget it. Just like the GPS. Once you set it, she'll say, turn here, turn right. In 5 miles, make a right, or in 6 miles, make a U-turn and then make a right turn into the driveway. Whatever the case is, your body is sending you signals. The universe is showing you the way. You have put it out there. You have attracted certain things to you. It's up to you to take off the blinders and be open to the signs and the symptoms. And I think I have spoken to, and when I want to say signs and symbols and symptoms, I spoke to the obelisks around the world and just briefly grazed over the energy grid. But, you know, there are things that are on in DC, there are things that are on buildings that are symbolic, that are energetic, that are interpreted not only on the physical, but also on the energetic level, on the metaphysical or the quantum level, so that it can have effects on you, whether you know they're there or not. That does not matter. The fact that you uh, are unaware of its effects is up to you to learn to read and to know yourself. There's certain places that I have walked and been and was able to observe some very deviant energies. One that I thought that was a very likely energy that I really, really liked, that I was pleasantly surprised by. This was when I was in California. I started to walk towards a particular area. And as I walked toward it, the energy, the vibration, the air was so energetic that as I started to walk towards this particular point, and I believe it's a grid point or a vortex, I started to walk on, it almost felt like it was a hydroplane situation, that I was walking on water. And it felt as though, I had been lifted above the gravitational pull, and that there was something that was separating me from that energy that connected me to the heaviness, the grave, the gravity, the so the energy, the air, the water in the air felt like it was, it allowed me to raise myself, or that it raised me. And unbeknownst to me, and I shared that with someone else to see, were they sensing or feeling it. And I believe they just didn't want to let me know, because they were utilizing that energy for some other resources. So that person did not want to share that information with me, but decided that they wanted to exchange some energetic creations. Let's put it that way. I don't want to get into the depth of it, because then they'll recognize themselves if they ever see this. We are done, finally. 50 minutes in. Sorry to keep you so long. This is twice as long as I normally would. Happy 2022. Things are changing. I am doing things in different ways, and this is an obvious piece of that, because I have mentioned more specific things that have happened to me than I have in almost any of my other videos. So a Heart Happy Hour is going to continue. It just may reshape in forms that are not as recognizable as they had previously been. I am Precious Mother Love. Heart Happy Hour will be back again next week. We're going to listen to some more music on our way out, but that's not the way to do it. So if you would like to get in touch with me, please reach out, like me, subscribe to me, share me. If you feel that I am the kind of person that can portray the information to someone and you think they'll get it. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm not for everybody to understand from my perspective. Some of the folks that I've learned from, it has been a beautiful expression of intelligence, and we've exchanged information in invaluable ways. So if I'm able to get my music, it's not gonna go, it's not gonna be come on, because it's unplugged. So in any case, one love and wellness. I guess I won't play my music after all. I will. One love and wellness. Check me out next week. We'll see you sometime soon. It sounds terrible, but that's all right. That's where you'll find me, totally free. At the end of the rainbow, after running to and fro, after learning all you know, that's where you'll find me. That's my Land of Love 2020. I renewed my song, wrote 10 years ago. That was that. See you next time. Thanks for joining me. I'm Precious Mother Love. One love and wellness. Love plus art equals wellness. See you soon.